I think whenever this whole Ukrainian crisis happened, the Irish people were so generous. But we're seeing that 24,000 people have offered accommodation, but it looks to be not quite that anymore when we're seeing more and more people come into the country.
Yeah, definitely. Like Irish Times reporting this morning, the figures that up to half have just not been answering the phone or have actually withdrawn the property. So there's been about 3,500 who have withdrawn the property since. And that's kind of understandable. They mightn't have thought about it fully, or the property might not be suitable. And then about 7,000 who just haven't been contactable inside hours, outside hours. They've been trying them at weekends as well, just haven't been picking up the phone to actually answer. So that's really put a push on things, because the government was estimating anyway that only half of those were going to be suitable for families to be put in after they'd been vetted and see whether kids could be there and all those different sort of things, whether there was room for everybody to be in. So now it's half of half, or down to a quarter really of those properties that might be available. And there was a cabinet meeting last night. Ministers very much told there, look, we are running out of space. We've seen the emergency accommodation start to be used from last night in Mill Street Arena in Cork. And when we say emergency accommodation, it's very much camp beds and tented accommodation. That is what's going to be next. There's a site prepared in Gormanstown in Meath at the Army camp there as well, which can house a few hundred more. So by the end of this month, really within the next 2 weeks, all the hotel accommodation, all the other areas that refugees could have gone into are going to be used up. Now there is...
And we're coming into summer months as well. So when hotels are being used at the moment, that's not going to be there anymore, because obviously hotels want to make their money as well. Yeah,
and a lot of the contracts actually were up over Easter. Now some of those have been able to be renewed, and they're looking at more, so taking over City West as well, for example, which would be about another 700 hotel rooms. But like you say, hotels are going to want those back on the private market as well to make their bit of money. There is a little bit of potentially a good news story here, in that yesterday the Taoiseach met the Ukrainian Prime Minister, and he was very much saying that, look, some people are returning to Ukraine now, particularly with the Russians pulling out of areas like Kyiv and some places in the west of the country, but obviously that's ahead of a targeted campaign in the east that could well produce more refugees. So we don't know how many are going to keep coming here at the moment. It's around 300 to 400 a day, which is down from 500 to 600 a day at the start.
Slightly.
So slowing down, but still very significant.
And I also think it's kind of, you know, and this is so horrible for the people of Ukraine, but there is no end date to this. And I suppose with rising cost of living, issues around childcare, you know, if a family if a mother comes in with her children and then she's going out to work, and you know, I know people might be sitting there going, how could you withdraw these pledges? But you know, I didn't pledge a place, I don't have any place to take someone in. But there are other factors here as well, as to with the rising cost of living, as to how you will be able to afford to keep people in your house if you're all ready to the penny your collar.
Definitely, and when you do think about it, like it's a big thing to do. Like it's not something that's very simple. You're not just taking someone in for a little bit of time. People could be there for years, and that's a big commitment to actually do. So I wouldn't rush into judging people who have pulled out, because there could be legitimate reasons for it.